بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى. أما بعد، يقول الله تبارك وتعالى في كلامه المجيد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم: وقال الذين كفروا لرسلهم لنخرجنكم من أرضنا أو لتعودن في ملتنا فأوحى إليهم ربهم لنهلكن الظالمين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. My dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, whenever we hear of a segment of the Muslim Ummah being in some difficulty, going through some overwhelming circumstances, then we should feel the pain, and that is the litmus test of, are we really an ummah? Do we have what it takes to be an ummah? We should feel the pain, and we should feel the joy if we see some Muslim or a segment of the Muslim ummah receiving some ni'mah, some blessing of Allah Azza wa Jal. Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhu, he says, "Inni la asma'u bi ardin yusibul muslimina fihi bi matar." I hear of a distant far off land, and the Muslims over there in that distant far off land have received plenty of rainfall. When I hear of that, فَأَفْرَحْ, I am happy. وَمَا لِي بِتِلْكَ الْأَرْضِ بِسَائِمَةٍ, and I don't have any livestock. I don't have any camels or goats. I don't have any farmland, any orchard in that land, but I am happy. Why? Because the Muslims in that distant far off land benefited from the rain. وَإِنِّي لَأَسْمَعُ بِحَاكِمٍ مِّنْ حُكَّامِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ يَقْضِي بِالْعَدْلِ فَأَفْرَحْ بِهِ وَمَا بِي بِتِلْكَ الْأَرْضِ بِقَضِيَّةٍ. And when I hear of a judge who is dispensing justice in a far off land, I am genuinely happy for the Muslims over there, even though I have no pending case in front of that judge. So that is how we should feel. Now, when we hear of some Muslims going through some difficulty, we should raise our voices and we should say something. Doing something is better than nothing. Now, there is a saying, sabruka, of our pious predecessors, sabruka fi musibatika khayrun min 𝙁𝙊𝙇𝙊𝙒. Persevering and enduring your misery, your personal difficulty with sabr is far better than you drawing attention to yourself and complaining. وَجَزْعُكَ فِي مُصِيبَةِ أَخِيكَ خَيْرٌ مِّن صَبْرِكَ. And raising your voice and drawing attention to the difficulty, to the misery that your Muslim brother is going through is better than you having sabr. That's not the time and place to have sabr. You are to raise your voice when you hear someone going through a difficult situation or being oppressed. Now, we know about the Muslims in India, what they are going through. And the BJP government, and this is no exaggeration whatsoever, that the BJP government could be compared to the Nazi regime of Germany. How they have the same ideology, and they say the exact same words. They say, leave India. They are telling the Muslims, go to Pakistan, leave India, or come back to the religion of your forefathers. Hundreds of years ago, your forefathers were Hindus. Come back to the religion of your forefathers. And this slogan is no different than what the kuffar, the disbelievers, said to the Anbiya alayhi salatu wassalam. وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا لِرُسُلِهِمْ. And the disbelievers said to the Anbiya, to the prophets, to the messengers, لَنُخْرِجَنَّكُمْ مِنْ أَرْضِنَا. We will take you out of our land. We will take you out of our land. Compare. We will take you out of India. We will expel you from India. لَنُخْرِجَنَّكُمْ مِنْ أَرْضِنَا. We will take you out from our land. أَوْ لَتَعُودُنَّ فِي مِلَّتِنَا. Or you come back to the religion of your forefathers. What did Allah respond? فَأَوْحَى إِلَيْهِمْ. Allah responded, revealed to the Anbiya, to the prophets, لَنُهْلِكَنَّ الظَّالِمِينَ. We will destroy the oppressors. And that is the end result of an oppressive regime, because a government can survive without believing in Allah, without Tawheed, while being an atheist. A government can survive and thrive and prosper, but a government cannot survive with injustice, with zulm and with oppression. Now, you might say, well, everything is from Allah, and what they're going through, that's from Allah. True, everything is from Allah. That is our belief. That is our fundamental belief. مَا تَسْقُطُ مِنْ وَرَقَةٍ إِلَّا يَعْلَمُهَا. Quran says that not a single leaf of a tree falls without Allah's permission. So yes, no doubt that everything happens from Allah. And the oppressors are only tools in the hands of Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah is the master planner. There is a question that arises that Yusuf alayhi salam, how could he forgive his brothers for the oppression that they committed against him? He was a Nabi, yes, la shakka fi, but he was also a human being, and a human being has emotions. He was not a robot. How did he find it in himself that in one stroke of a pen he said, La tathriba alaykum al-yawm, there is no sin upon you, and he forgave his brothers for all that they had done to him? Ulama have responded, the ulama of tafsir, nawwarallahu maraqahum, may Allah illuminate their graves. They said, إِذَا نَظَرَ الْعَبْدُ إِلَى الْخَلْقِ بِعَيْنِ الْحَقِّ lam ya'ba bi mukhalafatihim. When a person looks at what people have done to him with the sight of Allah, in other words with true sight, then he does not care about their opposition. Wa idha nadhara al-'abdu ila al-khalqi bi'aynihi afna ayyamahu fi muhasamatihim. And when a person looks at his oppressors, at his opposition with his eyesight, that they have done this to me, how dare they do this to me, then he spends the rest of his days he spends the rest of his life opposing them and making them his enemies. Ala tara ila Yusuf. Don't you look at the story of Yusuf? Don't you look at Yusuf alayhi salam? Hina alima majra al-qada adara ikhwatahu. When he realized that what the brothers had done, this was all part of Allah's master plan, this was his destiny, then he was able to forgive. Adara, he was able to forgive and overlook what his brothers had done. Yes, but having said that, everything is in the hands of Allah. But the other side of the coin is that a human being also has been given free will to choose and make the right decisions. If a person eats unhealthy food and does not exercise, we can say that yes, everything is in the hands of Allah, but this person has significantly increased his chances of a heart failure, of some heart disease. Why? Because he's eating unhealthy food and he does not exercise. That person, he has the symptoms of being sick or being sick in the future. Similarly, an ummah, a community, a nation, there are symptoms, there are signs. You look at those signs and say, this is a healthy community, this is an ummah that is on the rise. Or you look at those signs and say, this is an ummah that is on the down and down. It is going on in the downward spiral. That you can look and tell, yes, you are not predicting the future. You don't have a crystal ball, but those signs are telltales. They pretty much give you a picture of what is to happen, what will happen if this ummah does not take the corrective measures and eat unhealthy food. That's why Allama Iqbal rahmatullah alayhi, he said, Come, let me tell you what is the destiny of nations, what is the fate of nations. Shamshir wa sana awwal, ta'us wa rubab akhir. In the beginning is the spear and the sword, in the end is the music and the comfort and the alcohol. This is in one sentence, in one couplet, Allama Iqbal has described the upward signs. That in the beginning, the ummah, a community, is hardworking. They are hardworking, yes, they are going places, they have what it takes, and towards the end, its downfall, when it's going downhill, it falls into luxury and comfort. So we have to think, what have we done as an ummah? Or what are we doing as an ummah, as a community? Are we adopting what it takes to go up and up, or have we slouched, and do we have those traits and evil habits that a nation that is on the downhill has? Now, first and foremost, what every Muslim community, especially those that are living as a minority, whether in the West or in the East, whether it is China or India, those Muslims who are living as a minority, the first thing to do is to be aware of our challenges. When we are not aware of our challenges, even though they are staring at us in our face, then how can we ever overcome those challenges? We are sitting here and we can see the writing on the wall of genocide of Muslims in India, but believe it or not, those who are living there, for the most part, they don't see it. The Muslims in Spain, they failed to see the challenge. Yes, you had Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand. They have joined forces, and Muslims are engaged in their inner fighting. East India Tea Company comes to the subcontinent of India, and the gullible Mughal Empire thinks that they have come for import and export. They have come to buy and sell. Little do they realize that East India Tea Company has very dubious plans to take over the whole continent, to take over the whole subcontinent and make it a colony of England. We are unaware of the challenges. What challenges do we face? As a minority in India, or as a minority living in the West, our challenges, to be honest, are the same. The challenges are three. First, we have to be politically strong. Number two, we have to be economically strong. Wherever Muslims are living as a minority, to be politically strong, to be economically strong. And the third, but most important, is that we preserve our faith, our deen. If we become politically strong, or we become economically strong, and in the process we lose our deen, we lose our faith, then it was better that we were selling bananas in the streets of Karachi. No, there is no point of us having ever stepped foot into this country if we are not able to preserve our faith in our children and our grandchildren. So these are the challenges, to be aware of them. Number two is to take on those challenges. Once we are aware of them, then we can take on those challenges. Yes, with full courage, head on, we confront those challenges, we embrace those challenges, and the resources that Allah has given us, the human resources, the talent, and the financial resources that Allah has given us, we use those resources to overcome those challenges within the framework of Quran and Sunnah. Within the framework. Palestine is a challenge, and we have had this challenge for over the past 60, 70 years. But what have we done? What have we done? Palestini will sing, Dami, Dami, Palestine. My blood is Palestinian. My blood is Palestinian. I swear by Allah, you sing this song on a Dami Palestini for the next 1,000 years, and you do your dabqa for the next 1,000 years, Palestine will not be yours. The day you say, Dami Islam, my blood is Islam, my blood is Islam, the Palestine is yours that very same day. Framework, what is our framework of taking on our challenges? Yes, so we have to take on those challenges within the framework of Quran and Sunnah, using the God-given talents and resources. Now, there is discrimination. You might say, well, there is discrimination against the Muslims in India. Well, that discrimination, things did not happen overnight. the vulnerable position that Muslims of India find themselves in. It did not happen overnight. This took 30 to 50 years in the making. Systematic discrimination. And to be honest, yes, there is discrimination, but the fault is ours. The fault lies with the Muslims of India, 90%. And I'm being very conservative here. 90% of the fault is ours. How did we end up in such a situation that we are so politically weak, so economically weak, that even though we are 200 million Muslims in India, but we find ourselves helpless? We did not realize the challenge, or our forefathers did not realize the challenge. And even today, there is a video that went viral of a Muslim wedding. They are wearing sherwani, and in the streets they are throwing money into the air. Not for the poor, but as a display of their wealth. Yes, and in that same city, in that same night, a family of 6, a Muslim family of 6, drank poison and committed suicide because of hunger. We don't realize the challenges we are facing. What world are we living in? So we should, number 1, realize our challenges. Number 2, take on those challenges. Yes, and then realize, number 3, that if we don't take on those challenges, then we won't suffer. No. Our great-grandchildren will suffer. Yes. وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى. No one will carry the burden of another. This is for the day of judgment. This ayah is for the day of judgment. In this world, our children will carry our burden, and our great-grandchildren will carry our burden if we fail to realize the challenges that are staring at us in the face. The Hindu community in the United States, they came to the United States pretty much the same time that Muslims from India and Pakistan came to the United States. They had the same disadvantages that the immigrant community from the subcontinent had. They smell like curry, you smell like curry. They have a heavy accent, you have a heavy Desi accent. How is it that the Hindu community in America is miles ahead of us? What happened? What excuse do we have? What happened? How are they miles ahead of us? This is a case study. Someone can analyze and do their research and find out that our priorities are different. I will tell you the answer. Their priorities are different. Our priorities are buying a big house, driving around in BMWs, and going to Desi Dawats. That is what our priorities are. You go to a Hindu family, they have 6-figure salaries and they live in townhomes. They are not going to waste their money on big houses. They're going to spend that money on the education of their children. Education. Because a person can become politically and economically strong through education. That's what they emphasize. Number 2, yes, think about it. A Hindu wins the national spelling bee 1 year. Next year, a Hindu wins the national spelling bee. 3rd year, a Hindu wins the national spelling bee. And to top it off, the runner-up is also a Hindu. Yes. So they emphasize education. And number 2, these are their priorities. I told you what our priorities are. This is what their priority is. And they're working hard for it. Is that they have a network. Yes, an underground network amongst themselves where they help each other. They promote one another to positions of affluence and power and money. Yes, not like us, we pull each other's legs down. This is how they are rising to the top. And that is why we are going down. We don't know, we won't see the consequences of our, should I say, messed up priorities. We won't. Our grandchildren will suffer. And our great-grandchildren will suffer. Just like the Muslims of India, their forefathers 50 years ago could not see the consequences of their mistakes that they were making. And they thought everything was rosy. And they failed to see the challenges that were staring at them in the face. And now their grandchildren and great-grandchildren are suffering. May Allah make it so that our great-grandchildren do not suffer from our mistakes, the mistakes that we are making today. So we need to, in summary, be aware of our challenges and have the courage to embrace those challenges and work to overcome those challenges using the resources that Allah has given us, working within the framework of Quran and Sunnah. May Allah Azza wa Jal help us. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ. Please pray yourself.